Welcome to the Mindset for Runners podcast, helping you to access and unlock your true potential as an athlete.
Hey, it's Rob, and welcome to this episode of the podcast, How to Use Your Running to Serve Others. This episode won't be for everyone, but I'm hoping it's going to be for you. Let's start off with some news. There have been some amazing results since the last episode, starting with the incredible Ben Kubra, former Coast to Cozzy or current Coast to Cozzy champion, who came second in the Moab 240 miler over in the US last weekend. This is a huge race around the world. Now, Ben put so much time, so much work and training into this. And to see him succeed on the world stage as second place at a huge race is just kudos to the athlete he is. And what a race, what an event. Congratulations to Ben. Also, check out the interview I did with Ben only a few episodes ago for some gold from him. Over the weekend, we had the World 24-Hour Championships in Albi, France. This is held in the 1.5K circuit. Hot through the day, cold during the night. And the Aussie teams performed really, really well. Some incredible performances out there. Holly Ranson, a member of this Mindset for Runners community, set a new Australian record and broke the previous world record for 24-hour racing. She ran 274 kilometers. Now, I'm still trying to get my head around how she did that. Like 240 kilometers in 24 hours is like the gold standard for that distance. And for Holly to improve so much that she broke the previous world record and ran a 11 kilometer PB on her run from March is completely mind-blowing for me. So huge congratulations to Holly Ransom, who helped the Aussie women team come second place in the world. Huge also congratulations to Jenny White running a massive PB for herself, 237 Ks. We had Cassie Cohen up there as well. The Aussie girls were shining on the track, and some great performances from the men too. David Vroom, again, another former Coast to Cozzy winner, getting over 240 Ks. Grant Brisbane, John Yoon, all put in a great performance there. So good to watch that. Special mention to also runners Marie Connor, for the support she gave for the girls and the other Aussie athletes on the track. Joe Ward, and so many. I'm forgetting the other people. There's so many people to give accolades to. But that 24-hour World Championships was off the charts, and the standout performance, aside from those I mentioned, Holly, congratulations to you. What you've done will inspire so many people. And like I said, I'm still trying to get my head around it. Okay, so this episode, lots to get through. Why do I say it's not for everyone? Well, I'm going to draw on some psychology, a little bit of philosophy to help you get deeper into maybe some of the reasons behind why you run and how you can take your running to another level through service. So where did all this idea come from? Well, I'm going to tell you a story about a very inspiring human being who's also a member of this community and has been a long time inspiration for me in this sport. Miles Backhausen, if you listen, Madge, you huge inspiration to me. Miles, just one of those quality human beings. If you know me, know what I'm talking about. He like radiates energy, and he gives so much through his running. He races all around the world. He travels around the world. He commentates the biggest races in the world. You might have seen him on YouTube, doing Western States or UTMB. Correction, I'm not sure if he did Western States and UTMB and other races. But in July just past, Madge, Mile was running the Speed Goat 50K in the US. Now, this is one of the toughest 50Ks invented by the Speed Goat himself, Carl Metzer. A 50K race, lots of elevation, 11,000 feet, well over 3,500 meters of elevation in 50Ks. Now, Madge is running in the top group, as he does. He's won races all around the world, continues to perform at the high level. And he came across a runner who had fallen on the track and was lying there motionless. Scott Klingensmith, with the runner. And they were in the top group. They were bounding down this mountain at about 22 Ks in. And there was this runner on the track who was lying motionless. So Madge stopped and looked for signs of responsiveness. His training kicked in, and he eventually got Scott squeezed his hand, and funnily enough, Madge said later on, stopped his Garmin, stopped his watch as he was racing. But then Miles stayed with him for 40 minutes until help could come and made sure he was okay. Now, both of their races were over, of course, but Madge had no hesitation in giving up his race that he'd trained for a long time, traveled for all of those things to stay with Scott until he could be taken safely to an aid station and got the medical care that he needed. And when I heard this story, I just, like, my heart warmed. First of all, because I know Madge, I know that that's the type of guy he is. But I know that so many of you and the people who listen to this would do the same thing. And that's something special that we've got as runners, that we could train for 12 months for a race and travel and pay and do all that stuff. But the minute we saw someone in that need, I'm not talking about someone who's rolled their ankle, is kind of hobbling into the next checkpoint to DNF. That's different. This is somebody who needed quality and proper medical attention. So interesting enough, Madge went on the next month to run the 153K TDS as part of the UTMB series, and top 30 in the world against all the pros. So huge congratulations to you, Mael, and thank you for being inspiration for me and also so many other runners. He's also, to talk about service to the community, he's got a fantastic podcast called Stokely, and he also does so much work for nature and for trail running as a whole, and he's just one of those people. So this episode is born from the inspiration that Mael has been to me over the years. Now, diving into this stuff, I found a beautiful book which is no longer in print by South African coach Bobby McGee, called Magical Running. And the quote that stood out to me, which I'm sure you're going to understand why, in this book, he says, the purpose of life, and therefore of running, is to serve. So I went on a deep dive to help us all understand how we can tap into a life of service as a runner, so that our running is not just about medals and finishing races or going further or winning or podiuming or doing this or doing that, whatever your external goals are. And they're all great, right? So make sure you hear me correctly. They are all great. Go and get them. And there's another level that we can take our running to, and that's what I want to share with you today. You must serve yourself through running so that you can be of service of others. The old analogy about once your cup is full and overflowing, that's when you can give to others. If your cup is empty, your vessel is empty, you don't have the ability to serve others and to help others because you are depleted in some way. So go after your goals in running. Go after the faster times, the longer distances, the podiums, the medals. Do it all and fulfill that part of you. And what we're going to learn today is the next stage of leadership, of growth, of spiritual development, of psychological development, is it through service to others. So strap yourself in. We're going for a ride. Let's look at a few philosophers over time, who have kind of echoed this service mindset, if you like. The first I'm going to reference is PhD Dr. Robert Moore, who has been a big influence in my life, much through his Jungian psychology. And he talks about, as we get into adult life, and this is going to be echoed through other studies, other research rather, he points to us being generative in the middle life and later life. So generative is when you are generating the people around you. So you're serving them, you're encouraging them, you're helping them grow, you're mentoring them, you're inspiring them, and you're leading them. And that's when he talks about you becoming a generative man or a generative woman, it's about when you step outside of that self-serving and you go to the serving of others. Albert Schweitzer, again, the physician and theologian, said the purpose of human life is to serve and show compassion and the will to help others. Leo Tolstoy, the Russian author of so many books, including The Death of Ivan Ilyich, and I'm sure you've heard of Tolstoy, the sole meaning of life is to serve humanity. Ralph Waldo Emerson, one of my most quoted people, essayist, philosopher, Massachusetts. The purpose of life is not to be happy. It's to be useful, to be honorable, to be compassionate, to make some difference that you have lived and lived well. So once again, this doesn't mean you give up all your goals, your personal goals. You need to first serve you through your running so that you can serve others. And let's just take this back to nuts and bolts. When you're running, you're fit, your mental state is better, you're going after something, you've got aim in life, you've got purpose in life, you've got a goal, and you have more energy. And immediately those things are giving more to the people around you. So that's where we kind of want to start. And that's why I say don't give up on all the things that you want for yourself and your ego, because when you chase those, something happens and you start to create a flow or a movement, and things start to come into your life. And we'll get to that a bit later. In Magical Running, Bobby McGee tells a beautiful story about Zola Budd Nee Pietis, who, as a child prodigy runner in South Africa, had a lot of pressure on her. She was a 1,500-meter athlete, and he tells a story of being at a track one night. I think it was the national championships, not sure, and there was a lot of pressure around Zola, all external pressure about winning, about times, about making the South African, national team as a young and up and coming runner. And in that moment, she was standing at the start line of this race, and all of this pressure came to her and overwhelmed her. Now, she actually walked away from the start line right there. She was there in the blocks, and she walked away, and she felt overwhelmed and like disconnected. So then what she said happened when she walked away and kind of physically walked away from it all, she said she noticed the sunset in the sky. She felt the springiness of the track under her feet. And she said to herself, I'm going to run the way I want to run. Forget the pressure, forget the expectations. And that shift in her mindset allowed her to get back to how she wanted to do it, why she loved running, the reasons that she did it, and forget about all the external stuff. From there, she went on to not only win the race, she set a new national record for the 1,500 and went on to greatness in her career. Now, what does this teach us? When we own our running and the reasons that we do it, that serves us, just like Zola. She got back in touch with why she ran, what she loved about it, and all of those beautiful reasons that she did it, instead of chasing all of these expectations from others or society, or whatever you want to say. So and what she said, when my running was driven by love, not outcomes, that's when I expressed myself fully. This is a pretty wise thing to come from such a young athlete. And so that's why I say, don't throw out your goals, go after them and take this to the next level, which we're going to learn going on. All right. So you might learn, and for me, this has been really important for me to learn the structure that running has given my life. I spoke about this in a previous episode when I was injured. I realized how much of this structure had fallen away. The structure of life, the goal, like that direction and that aim and that purpose, all of the things that you need to do to work towards that, and the organization around your life that it gives you, the extra energy, the extra kind of boost of motivation. And when we can add on that you're training for your training partners, for your community, for your family, for the people that you're running with and helping them become better through competition, that's when you can shift into that mindset of service. So psychologist Erik Erikson has the 8 stages of human development, his model of human development. And one of those stages, stage 6, I believe, it could be stage 7. Yes, it was in my psych exam, but I've kind of ditched that. He talks about the generative, again, there's that word generative stage versus stagnation. So this happens, Erickson said, in the ages of 40 to 69. And this happens when we shift from what can I get to what can I give. And he started to step into this energy that Robert Moore talks about, which is, how do I become a generative man, right? How do I become a generative runner? And that's my questions. And then how do I generate more for people through what I'm doing? And the virtue that he attaches to this stage of life is care. So if that word resonates with you, you can start to use it. How can I use my running to care for others more? Carl Jung, the famous Swiss psychologist, of course, who I'm still disappointed I'm not learning anything about in my psych degree, has been a huge impact in my life. And he describes the same concept in a different model. He talks about your life is like the morning of your life, the afternoon of your life, and the evening of your life. And he says the afternoon of life must have a significance of its own. What was great in the morning will be little at evening. Now, Jung talked in these high-level abstract terms, but if you break that down, it's like in the morning of life, we're there to build an identity, to see what we're made of. It's like we hustle, we make things happen. We're learning in running, we're learning our trade as a runner. We're learning the distances. We're learning how to deal with pain. We're learning how to discipline ourselves, to get up for training, to finish training sessions, to understand our body through injury, to work on our strength, to understand we need nutrition and recovery, and all of these things like we're doing our trade or our degree as a runner. That's the morning. Just like in those early years when you're getting your career up and running and you're getting life up and running. And then in the afternoon, we run to express who we've become. And here's the next stage, to give that away. So as Jung talks about the afternoon of life must have a significance of its own, this is where we make it significant through giving. Now let's go to George Mumford, right? The author of The Mindful Athlete, Unlocking Your Greatness. This is Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Kobe Bryant's mindset coach, who worked with Phil Jackson back in the 90s when the Chicago Bulls were at their best. A quote from George Mumford from one of his books says, "I learned that in order to keep something, I had to give it away." Now, it might sound paradoxical, and this is where we get back to the whole saying of knowledge is power. Mumford says, in order to keep it, I have to give it away. So he worked out that he was gaining all this knowledge in order to express it in his own unique way, right? And what the hell does this have to do with running? Well, in this stage of running, it's this stage of life, your running is an expression of who you are, and you're giving away your gifts as a runner and your experience as a runner to others to generate more greatness in them. I hope you're following me and I'm not becoming a woo-woo weirdy, because it's certainly not that. But it's a psychological and spiritual evolution from ego to meaning, from self to service. And Mumford wraps that up when he says, in order to keep something, I had to give it away. All right, let's move on. Sri Chinmoy, who incredible teacher, huge around the world, very big in Australia. And his whole Sri Chinmoy marathon team was set up to serve. And he had a quote, "The inner running and the outer running complement each other." So he says, running along eternity's road. So what Sri Chinmoy is talking about is the inner running is the self and the outer running is the service. And for him, he said running was his prayer in motion. It was a way to serve God, others, and the world. He said discipline wasn't punishment, it was devotion. And so taking Sri Chinmoy's teachings, when you run with gratitude, with peace, with intention to uplift, and then you become of service to others because you're expressing as you run and you are inspiring as you run. And I hope that makes sense. That's why he set up his Sri Chinmoy running team, to serve others through running. Let's go to I messed his name up, Murakami, who wrote, of course, what I talk about when I talk about running. He said, most runners run not because they want to live longer, but because they want to live life to the fullest. Okay, let's look at that. So he's saying running mirrors life. We push ourselves, we test ourselves, and we grow. Now, if you add service to that, running's not just about living fully, but it's to help others live fully as well. So again, I'm hoping I'm articulating this well. When we go after our goals through running, we embody that. But sometimes we're like the bee who thinks its job is to gather honey. It's such a huge, bigger purpose than the bee will ever know about. The same for you as a runner. You might not think that the person down the road is inspired by you, or your kids, or your friends, or your work colleagues who call you crazy, but secretly completely blown away and inspired by you. You might not see your partner or, again, your friend or somebody the gift that you're giving through their running. And when you can start to just throw a harness around that and start to understand that this is not about me. This is not about you. It's about service and giving more to my family, to myself, to my family, to my community, right? So I went digging deep for some psychology studies on how running can be used as service, of course. I found a couple of ones that are worth mentioning. Both were done this year. BMC Psychology, a study in that magazine, found that physical activity is positively linked to altruistic behavior. So what that means is running strengthens social connection through running groups and through running races and through talking about running with people that you probably wouldn't normally associate with. And that actually strengthened your social connection and then went on to altruistic behavior. It means you're more likely to do something for somebody else through physical activity. Another study this year in Frontiers of Psychology showed exercise increases a sense of meaning. Right. So let's stop there. It gives meaning to our life, right? So if we go back to, who was it that said it? Our purpose of life is not to be happy, it's to be useful. Emerson, right? And so we're going after meaning. And meaning's not easy. Meaning's hard. Getting up to go training before work is hard in the rain when you don't feel like it. When coach says you're going to do this and you're like, I don't want to do that, but you're going to do it anyway. Like, that's how you get meaning, and that's how you grow confidence, and that's how you grow discipline. And as we know, freedom from discipline is a Buddhist principle. So we're going back to these core age-old learnings that we can apply. And so going on from that, increases the sense of meaning, which predicts pro-social behavior. Again, when you have more meaning in your life, you're more likely to do something for others. Am I clutching at straws with these two studies? Maybe. But what I'm trying to say to you is when you're exercising, there's so many more exercising, that's the word. When you're running, it's so many more benefits to others than you probably noticed. And if you can start to notice them, then you might just start to tap in to how you are being of more service to others. All right, let's move on. I've got a section here, know your gift. All right, now this comes from our course, our Mindset for Runners course. So often as people, as runners, as going through life, we have these gifts that other people can see that we have and they value and they love us for it. But we likely don't see it ourselves. We likely think that other people have got better virtues or characteristics or gifts than us. And we focus on what they're doing and we want to be more like them. And all the while, we're denying our own gifts. And so when you can step fully into your gift and own it, you can start to bring it out through your running. So what do I mean by this? So if I looked at my gifts of energy and enthusiasm, right, gratitude, these gifts I denied for 30, 40 years, right? Until I start to realize, oh, these are actually like valuable. I never even thought that I had anything of any value. And then I can start to bring these out through my running, through being an enthusiastic runner, through being a grateful runner, and through being energetic and like coming from the energy that I want to come from, instead of dumbing it down or numbing it down to fit into the people that were around me. And so that's what I used to do, but I don't do it anymore because I see that that's the way I serve, through being my authentic self and bringing it through running. I'm going to link to a few different people who have inspired me through the way that they serve through their running. I'm going to start with Sharon Sutherland. Sharon took over the Kiama Running Club a few years ago when they had a handful of members, and it's my local running club. Now, Sharon is the most humble, just beautiful, giving person, and she's grown that club to over 1,200 members in just a few short years. And this is the way that we can use running as service. Sharon runs marathons, and she runs a lot of marathons, but she will say herself, she's not a fast marathoner. That's not what she does it. She does it to bring people together and to give them a place to feel safe and to connect and to run with others. And the service that she's given to my community, to Kiama, is incredible. And had she kept that gift to herself, then there's 1,200 people that wouldn't have benefited from it. I think of every running coach out there who has said, I'm going to put my hand up and learn how to help others bring their best out. and I'm going to give my experience. I'm going to learn the science of coaching and learn how to do this so that I can serve others through coaching. It's a tremendous service, like to help somebody become better. That's what service is all about. I think of race directors who give up so much of their time and energy and life to put on these incredible races all around Australia, all around the world, so that we can go and test ourselves and run with other people and run these beautiful places. Like, hats off to every race director out there, and thank you for what you give. And everyone who's ever volunteered, if you've ever worked at an aid station, it is one of the, like, you'll remember it forever. If you ever crewed for a runner or paced for a runner, it's something that you'll remember, helping them achieve their goal. And this is another way we can serve through our running, of course. I think of people like Fran Hundell, who just ran across Australia, fastest woman to ever run across Australia, and running for the purpose of domestic violence. Like she just organized and ran and trained for and put her life on hold for, and ran from Perth to Sydney, the fastest time ever as a woman, to raise awareness, raise money for domestic violence. I think of Kirli Deer and Brad Smithers and the team for Run Against Violence, who have done this for years and now have a virtual Run Against Violence. Like, and there's so many people. Pat Farmer runs for political activism, and people like that who use running as a way to bring people onto their cause. So what does this mean for you? It's like, who does your running serve? And you can start to ask yourself these questions. Like, basically, if you start with that, like, who does my running serve? Maybe your first answer is no one, or maybe it's myself, right? And that's a good place to start. But I'm going to encourage you to think just a little bit bigger and find, is there one person who is better, or whose life is made better because you are running? And it might not be someone you think about, but how is your running support your partner or your friends or your family or your colleagues or your community? And start to find ways that it does. Are you a better member of your community because you're healthy, because you're fit, because you're out there doing these things in your community? Are you better? Are you serving others through, again, volunteering for whatever, at a race or in the community or somewhere else, at work, when you're talking about your running or someone's asking about your running? There's inspiration there. And it's unlikely that people you talk to are going to say directly, maybe they'll say, you inspire me, but most likely it's an indirect inspiration that after hearing about what you're doing, they're going home and thinking, maybe I can start to walk around the block, or maybe I could even do the couch to 5K or something like that. If they can do this, then maybe I can do that. And these are things that you probably won't ever know until you shine the torch of awareness on them and say, how am I actually serving others? I'd like you to ask yourself that now. So, oh man, I've got more I want to get through. So I'm going to crack on just to make sure we cover everything. Dedication. Dedication is, there's no direct study on dedication. What I mean by that is, how do you dedicate your running to somebody else? Sports psychs agree, and actually this is big in The Brave Athlete, again, the book, fabulous book, The Brave Athlete. They agree that when you dedicate your race or your training to somebody else, it gives it more meaning and it takes the focus off you and onto something bigger. And that's the way that we bring out a higher level of performance. But when we dedicate it, it helps our goals dedicate our race or our training to something, helps our goals become more meaningful and we perform better. So this could be something like, this one's for my daughter, right? Or this one is for my mate who can't run anymore, right? I'm doing this for someone who can't. Or this one's for my community that's just been affected by a bushfire or whatever. This one's for this person. Now, that dedication makes your goal bigger than you. Another way to expand your purpose, if you like, transcend your ego, which is what the spiritual teacher would say, and put service into motion through making something bigger than you. Let's go to psychologist Robert Keegan just to bring these models back. He talked about 4 stages of modern adult development. And let's have a look at these ones. Number 1, self-focused. It's all about me, right? And think about you moving through these as you go from your adolescent years up. I'm not sure where you sit in that, but here's a model for you. So number 1, self-focused. It's all about me. Number 2, socialized. It's about belonging, right? I can definitely relate to these models. Number 3, self-authoring. It's about mastery and purpose. So mastering my craft or my career or my knowledge and purpose. Now, the 4th stage is self-transforming, where it's about service and connection. So this is why I say this podcast might not be for everyone, because if you're still like, I'm here to get faster, I'm here to get on the podium or get a PB or win this race, become pro, whatever, and that I say go for it, right? That's a stage that you're in. And know that once you go for that fully and embody it and own it, the next stage is waiting for you. And that is, how can I use my gifts and how can I use my experience to serve others? All right. There's so much more I want to say about this topic, but I want to sum up here with some questions for you. And really, it's about asking that question again. Where am I serving others through my running? And really meditating and taking it for a run, and taking it for journaling or taking it for a run and say, and you might get, I don't know, or I'm not, or whatever. I want you to push past that and say, if there was some person I was inspiring or some group, who could it possibly be? And just start to feel what it feels like. Be like, do you mean that when I lace up my shoes and get out the door, I'm actually affecting somebody's life for the positive? And that's what I want you to feel. When you can tap into that, you'll get a whole new dimension for your training, for your racing, and for going through life. When you understand that the person that you run with, you might be a better psychologist than their psychologist. I hope that lands for you, right? The person that is just observing you and is not going to ever come up to you and say, oh, you're amazing, you're doing all these things and you've helped me. But secretly, for them, you've lit a spark inside them that's helped them maybe not go running, but maybe just do something that they were maybe afraid of in their life. All right, I am going to call it a day there. I hope you've got something out of this. It is a little bit woo weird, but I'm proud of that because we need to tap into something higher than ourselves. I'll go back to Jung's quote, which he said, all healing comes through a connection to the numinous. And numinous is the sacred. And so when we go from self to others, we are going to a more sacred place, a more spiritual place, or a less ego-focused, self-focused. And we're understanding that life is not just about me, and what I do today is affecting others for the positive. And that's what your running gives. So thank you for listening right to the end. I hope you got something, even just one thing, even if you can just find one thing that's helped you realize that your running serves, and then start to bring that question, how can I be of more service? How can I give more of myself, more of my gifts, or more of my time, or more of my energy to help others through my running? Thank you for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks for listening to the Mindset for Runners podcast. I hope you got something practical and useful out of this podcast, or something inspiring to help you get out for your next run. If you have a question about Mindset for Runners or athletes in general, please email me at robmason.run@gmail.com and I'll answer your question on an upcoming podcast. And if there's anybody you know who could benefit from the information I share in this podcast, please share it with them. See you next time.